Solidari-Tea. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Aha. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, time for another Brews at 10 here on My Left Eye. I'm your host, Lefty. Hope you're all having a fantastic start to the week. Start-ish. Morbius, Octo and Kate, great to see you in the chat already. And Davinia, I'll be in earlier on. Great to see you all anyway. How's your day going? Solidari-Tea to you all and everybody joining me this evening. Whether you're a regular viewer or you're new, you're all very welcome here. Please do hit the thumbs up button and help the channel and the stream reach more people this evening. Thank you very much. Also subscribe if you're new to the channel. That way you can join others in the chat if you'd like to share your thoughts. Do try and dip in and out of the chat as I go through the stream, but if you've got any pertinent points or questions, feel free to use super chats. They're open this evening. And I guess I should say, for anyone who's not a regular viewer as well, here on My Left Eye, the channel is all about the latest news from a left-wing, a socialist perspective, current events, historical events, politics and society. But we do like to have a few laughs along the way, even though we take on some serious topics on the show. And with the world being what it is here in late 2024. But on that topic, please do feel free to add your tea-based puns in the chat. Solidarity, austerity, Octo's pretty good at throwing a few of those out, as I'm sure a few other people in the chat are. We've had some good ones so far, so tea-based puns, always welcome. I'll be starting with a comedy clip shortly as well. Just wait a few more moments or so to let people get into the chat. Let's just let the stream breathe a little before we get into the intensity of the topics so far. Since I was last with you on Sunday for the Sunday live stream, thanks to everybody who joined me there as well. I'm not doing too bad today. Looking forward to giving the latest on some topics we've been keeping up to speed with on the channel and new stuff that's emerged today. So the main stories tonight that we're going to go in through. Obviously you've heard about the resignation of the Archbishop of Wellesby, that's his name. Nearly forgot his name for a second then. As he's been involved in a cover-up involving a now deceased former child abuser. More on that to come. Archbishop Wellesby has stepped down today. COP29 has been ongoing as well. Talked a little bit about that on the live stream on Sunday. Keith's come in and made a pledge. Oh yes, he's been throwing the P word around again. A pledge, a commitment, a #1 priority. Free the sausages. But this is on the climate, the latest one. Apparently he wants to kick carbon emissions down by 81% by 2035. So I'm going to be giving you my 2 cents on what I think about that. UNWRA have appeared on the BBC and talked a little bit about what they've observed recently in Gaza. I'm going to be going through that in a bit more detail as well. Unfortunately, that's not good news there, as the situation in Gaza becomes increasingly bleak, unfortunately. But, as always, here on My Left Eye, we support a free Gaza, a free Palestine, a ceasefire, and an end to the occupation and collective punishment, and for those responsible to be held to account for the intolerable, inhumane, and disgusting crimes. Solidarity to that. So yes, also through the stream, feel free to throw up Palestine flags, watermelons, shows of solidarity. Solidarity. There'll be a few other bits as well, including the latest revelations from what went down the night the football hooligans rampaged through Amsterdam, Maccabi Tel Aviv, right-wing thugs. However, there's a little cloud, there's a little silver lining to the cloud, I should say, where that's concerned, with the clip that I've got. It's actually quite a funny clip of one of the perpetrators being arrested. In quite a comedic fashion, but no spoilers where that's concerned. Doc Davies, great to see you again. How's your week going? Welcome back. Is this a PG channel? What, as in parental guidance, or as in the T? Is it a PG? Has anyone got any tips for Doc Davies on that question? Well, if it's a parental guidance channel, hell no. Oh shit no. Might even throw a few harsher swear words in now and then. But if it's there are other teas available, I should say. That's not my particular brand. I generally go, again, not risking any product placement, of course, as per terms of service on YouTube. But I go for a particular brand that is named after a county, should we say. It's named after a county in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Looks like a teaser question for the stream. That's a little unfair though. It's biased towards British tea drinkers. Oh, I'm giving away. There's a clue there. The county is not in Northern Ireland. Pre-clue. Kit's got it. Congratulations. That was not a contest. There isn't a prize, but well done, Kit. Congratulations are a prize in themselves, as also a thanks. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of the members on the channel. Well deduced there, Kit. And great to see the community growing as well. Thanks a lot to everybody on the list here. You can join this list of incredible people in Solidari-Tea for just 99 pence, with other perks for you to enjoy as well. So please do consider supporting the channel in that way. There is, right there on the list, Kit along with others in the chats. And of course I have to give a obligatory thank you to everybody who's gifted memberships to other viewers lately. Other teas are available. No, this channel comes without direct product placement, just sort of hints about other good channels to watch, that sort of thing. And on the live streams, there should just be one ad at the start. You won't get any mid-roll ads if you're watching live. So that comes uninterrupted, apart from at the start. If you're watching live, asterisks. Okay. My Dog's a Goth. Welcome. Thanks for joining with the membership. And also, that's a great name. That's a great. I'm looking forward to adding that one to the list. Your dog's a goth. Your dog's a goth. So, are they just sitting around listening to The Cure at the moment? Oh, brilliant name. Thank you very much for that show of solidarity. Okay, without further ado, I shall take us into the first clip, which is going to be the comedy clip. This is Michael Spicer. I'm not sure if I've used any of his clips before on the channel, off the top of my head. I've been following him for a while myself. Really funny guy, great comedian. This one's all about how when Trump got elected, quite a few MPs sort of did a complete U-turn in their opinion on him, compared to, shall we say, around the time of the election before last, when Labour had somebody else at the reins. So check it out. Check out his channel as well. Right, Michael Spicer, everyone. Just turn this up.
So, Minister, Donald Trump is president-elect once again. What are your thoughts on his emphatic win?
Well, look, obviously, I congratulate Donald Trump on his victory, and I look forward to working with his administration over the next 4 years.
You've got some bridges to build with him, though, haven't you? Given that in January 2017, you said, Donald Trump is a neo-Nazi and a disgusting sexual predator. God help the United States.
The Prime Minister and I have already had several meetings with President Trump in order to maintain a healthy relationship that benefits both countries, and I think that's what's important right now.
When you met the President, did he mention this tweet you wrote back in March 2017 when you said, how can anyone spend time with Donald Trump and not come to the conclusion that he's an unscrupulous, egotistical, misogynistic fascist? God, I hate him.
What I'm focused on is making sure that our strong working relationship with the United States continues under President Trump and his team.
Even though you said this in July 2017, Donald Trump is contemptible, vile and odious, a tornado of corruption and depravity in a flappy blue suit. He makes me sick.
Donald Trump is a man who speaks as he finds, but I think that it's important that we find some common ground in the national interest, and that's what myself and the Prime Minister are focused on doing in the coming months.
So presumably you no longer think what you tweeted in December 2017 when you said, anyone who tries to forge working relationships with Trump is an unprincipled, morally bankrupt charlatan who should be treated with contempt and total disdain. I don't care who you are, if you want to work with that fascist monster, you're a piece of shit.
The transatlantic relationship is one of the most important relationships that the UK has, and I don't think that bringing up tweets that I posted several years ago should have any bearing on what we're trying to achieve today.
Even though you said in January 2018,
oh God.
Don't ever forget these things I'm saying about Donald Trump. Seriously, if you find me reeling off some spurious bullshit in years to come about looking forward to working with Donald Trump because he's been re-elected, God forbid, then take it as read that I've sold my soul for the sake of my political career and should be kicked in the face for the rest of my life by the people who voted for me.
So much has changed in 8 years, and I think that it's incumbent upon us to extend the hand of friendship to President Trump for the sake of national and financial security.
Okay, if that's the case, perhaps you should also change your profile photo.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that's a good one. Michael Spicer, that is, do subscribe to his channel. If he looks familiar, you might remember him from his Room Next Door content that he used to do. So he did a lot about Trump, and he did stuff about Johnson and other MPs as well. But essentially, that he's feeding them their lines, but it's all going horribly wrong as he watches them cock up a live TV appearance or whatever it is. Great stuff, great stuff. And yeah, of course, Starmer was culpable of that, as was David Lammy, the stuff that they used to post when Corbyn was leader of the Labour Party. Starmer called him a fascist and a wig, was it? Lammy made quite a few outbursts about him on LBC. He tweeted about him, the absolute outrage, and now the absolute brown nosing. Brilliant stuff there from Michael Spice. I think that sums up that whole double standards, hypocrisy really well. I can see a few of you in the chat are liking that one as well. Brilliant. Right, best crack on. I can't stay on too very late this evening. This one's also a comedy clip, but it's an update element as well, as I said. Just an update on what's happened to some of those culprits from the Netherlands last week. These right-wing arseholes parading through town or the city, racist chants, interrupting the minute's silence for Valencia flood victims and so on, causing havoc in the streets. So here's one of them being apprehended by Dutch police. I don't know if you've seen this one bouncing around your social media. But although we're completely horrified by their actions as well as the media's reactions, this is, like I said, a bit of a silver lining to the cloud. Check this guy out. Speaking of the social media as well, please do give us a follow. On Twitter, it's at MyLeftEye UK, and we're on Mastodon as well, at MyLeftEye. Caps at the start of each word on Mastodon. And we do follow back all genuine socialists as well, so. I've had to play this without sound. I will just keep the background music on very low, but keep your eye on this guy. I think there was some copyrighted music on the original clip, so that's why I've played it without it. So there they are. It looks as though they chased him to underneath one of the bridges of the canal, as you can see there, on a very narrow and very wet footing area. And he also doesn't appear to be completely sober either. Oh, there he goes, there he goes. One more time. Maybe twice. Again. So, whoa, we nearly goes there. No. Then these Dutch police, you know, did they apprehend people right by the side of the canal there? They did that quite well. This guy's all over the place. Oh, he's in the drink. He's in the drink. Tough. Just once more. Let's just see that once more. Just a bit refalls in. He's up. He's okay. Tough shit, fascist. Yeah, he could be on something as well, who knows. Ordinal Father, welcome to the chat, great to see you again. So that's just for anyone who's not come across that clip. There were great demonstrations the day afterwards as well in Amsterdam. And if Maccabi Tel Aviv are ever due to come and play a club over here in the UK, we'll definitely have to keep our eyes on that. Right, cracking on. I've got an article from the Squawk Box here. I'm just getting this queued up, so... As I said at the top of the stream, the Archbishop of Canterbury, Archbishop Wellesby, has resigned today after pressure that he was aware of the abuses of a former member of the clergy who's been dead since 2018, and he didn't report it to the police. He's sort of suppressed that. But this came out today on the Squawk Box, and a whistleblower alleges that Keir Starmer is no better than Archbishop Welby in covering up sadistic abuse, as they've put it. So let's just take a quick look at that. That's the story that broke today about him stepping down. I'll just have to adjust the screen a little bit. Yeah, so this is broken. These are absolutely horrific revelations. So it was in 2013, I think, when Welby became Archbishop, and he knew then. And the perpetrator in question, John Smythe, died 5 years later in 2018. Since then, the revelations have come out, but it's also... Well, originally it was speculated that Welby knew. It's since been proven, and then he said that he wasn't going to step down because of it. That's a condensed version of the story anyway, but you look at it, this is disgusting. 130 boys and young men were abused by John Smythe, according to Father Robert Thompson, co-author of a petition calling on Welby to quit for failing to alert authorities about Smythe's abhorrent serial abuse of children and young men. According to ex-Labour whistleblower Elena Cohen, Prime Minister Keir Starmer's no better than Welby, who eagerly sided with the establishment to smear Jeremy Corbyn leading up to the 2019 general election, although later he tried to distance himself from his support of pro-Israel Chief Rabbi Ephraim Mervis's attack on Corbyn. It says she repeatedly warned Starmer and then Labour General Secretary David Evans that a Labour Party staffer working for then Peribah MP Khalid Mahmood, and allegedly when Mahmood's lover was engaged in, quote, sadistic and criminal abuse of vulnerable Muslim women fleeing domestic violence, though the now defunct domestic violence charity, through, I should say, the now defunct domestic violence charity that she ran. Despite warnings, Evans did nothing, and he remained on Starmer's front bench as long as he chose to be there, it says. Cohen had a successful tribunal for wrongful dismissal, it always says. It also says for abuse that she'd suffered, including blackmail and sexual exploitation. He admitted under oath that he'd also made sure that Starmer was fully aware of Cohen's allegations. So Starmer's been in a similar position to Welby. I guess the point being, if Welby's stood down, then there's got to be massive pressure on Starmer now. So she went on to say there's no difference between Keir Starmer and Justin Welby. It's a matter of court record that Sir Keir was told about the criminal exploitation of women in unsafe situations, yet as leader of the Labour Party, he chose to ignore my protected disclosures and harbour an abuser in the parliamentary office of a Labour MP. Welby has belatedly done the right thing and resigned. Sir Keir needs to do the same. So this is from squawkbox.org. I'll post the original article in the comments of the stream when it's finished, so if you want to check that out, please do. Just wanted to skim over that, but it just finally says that they exclusively revealed Starmer's repeated abuse cover-ups 4 years ago, but despite the sworn statements, the so-called mainstream media has so far ignored the revelations. With Welby's exposure, Squawkbox understands that this may be about to change, and some MSM outlets are now sniffing around the Starmer scandal. They've both been contacted for comments, but so far nothing. So if you want to check that out in a bit more detail, I'll post a link in the article. But please do check out the Squawkbox, squawkbox.org in general. What do you make of that, though? What do you make about that in terms of a comparison between the Archbishop of Canterbury and the current Prime Minister, Keith Rodney Starmer? Sir Sinister, Martin Alford. Yeah, the name's Chris Pincher. Yeah, he's another one of them. So many. There was another one came up on a live stream recently, reminded us about the the MP who pretended he was trying to look for tractors on his phone. But no, that just goes to show, and I think one thing that is definitely being overlooked by the mainstream media in all of this is that Welby's only stood down because he's been found out, demonstratively found out. He's not done it out of guilt or that he's appalled. He should have reported this as soon as it came out. Of course he should have done. Who knows what further harm he could have done, may have done, after he knew. And he's not only happy to be close to someone like that, be friends with someone like that, he's not going to report them to the police. And these are supposed to be the people who hold the highest moral standards in the establishment. It's disgusting. What can you say? What can you say? There's no other words. There's no other way to put it. And I do think it's comparable. I do think it's comparable to the other case that was in that Squawk Box article. Absolutely. 100%. There have been other things that did you happen to know that Keir Starmer used to be the Director of Public Prosecutions? I don't know if that information's ever been put to you. But quite a few people have pointed out where he has been lax during his time at the CPS in charging other abhorrent individuals as well. But that's another matter entirely. Yes, Doc, tractors, the tractors. I was looking at tractors and all these naked people having sex came up on my phone or whatever it was. Allegedly. Well, it wasn't actually allegedly, I can say that quite openly. Had to resign over it. Don't think I'm sticking my neck out too far in calling that one. So as they said at the end of that article, I've got to echo those sentiments, hoping that the mainstream media do catch wind of that. Just like they've been banging on about this John Smythe and Welby case for quite a few days now. Culminated with him resigning, of course. If Starmer's the same, then he should face the same scrutiny, as well as scrutiny for a lot of other things. Safe to say. He's never short of criticism here on My Left Eye. But what does all this mean for Starmer's current popularity overall, even though this is yet to come out in the mainstream media? So you have to find your news from other excellent sources like the Brews at 10. But as I was saying, a poll's come out today, and yes, you can take polls with a pinch of salt if you will. I won't have a go at you for that, of course. They're not always 100% accurate. But this one's come out. Its main significance is it's the first one that's come out since Kemi Bad Enoch took over from Rishi Sunak as the leader of the Conservative Party. Shaz, welcome to the chat. Great to see you tonight. How you doing? Welcome. Where was I there? So yeah, it's the first, excuse me, poll on the general election, that is, which is still far, far away. The first one since Kemi Badenoch became leader of the Tories. So let's see how Keith's doing there. Been in for a good few months now. Should have hit the ground running. Sure that he wouldn't have put out any policies that would put people off him immediately. Heaven forfend. Well, there you have it. So unbelievably, the Tories are now back in the lead according to this poll. This comes from Stats for Lefties. The poll took place between the 8th and 11th of November. So this is the latest, and they're up by 3 percentage points. Labour are down by 1. Reform up by 1. Lib Dem down 3. And the Greens stay at 8%, but the Tories taking the lead after such a short time. Can you say you're surprised with the way that Keith's acted, with the way that Labour have acted? Some of the latest ones being tuition fees going up, the budget that isn't really great for poor people. It's got Middle England off in a huff and a puff, whilst the big super wealthy 1% still keep raking it in. Of course, out of the 5 parties on the screen, I'd back the Greens, of course. The rest are all just different flavours of the same crap. We've had the two-child benefit cap, we've had winter fuel payments, the aforementioned rise in student fees, we've had pledges for military aid while families continue to struggle. We've had Keith alongside former Prime Ministers Tony Blair, Cameron, Johnson, Brown, all, you know, all different cheeks of the same arse, but Starmer in particular aiding and abetting what's happening in the Middle East with the goal to stand there at the cenotaph, and a whole host of other things that have caused a dip in popularity. And the shocking thing is how quickly it's happened, more than anything. But you can't be too surprised. So what do you think about that? Yeah, Morbius, I'm just looking in the chat there. I think 8% is pretty respectable as well. You've got to, of course, be worried about reform there. I know quite a few people are sick of the so-called main parties, as we all know, because of turnout, but this is also leading to success for, unfortunately, as well as the Greens and independent MPs as well. Also, Reform seem to be doing pretty well. That's not great. But you've got to remember the Greens came second in quite a lot of seats at the last election. There's other grounds to be made. Who knows how many by-elections there could be between now and the next general election. The numbers might not really ebb and flow, but one party might chip away slightly. You don't know. You don't know. And of course it's the first time the Greens have got 4 seats. Reform have the 5 as well. Farage was kicking off as well. I think Richard Tice was as well. It was pretty pathetic. Remembrance Sunday that they weren't invited to lay a wreath at the cenotaph, and oh, it's all about us, you know. Today's all about the Reform Party, isn't it? Unbelievable that they could have that self-centered attitude. Pathetic. Super Tiny, welcome back. You search for serenity and tranquility in the voids of insanity. Well put. Nice to see you again. Right, I'll get moving on with this interview with an UNWRA representative on the BBC. About the latest on the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. It's, as I said earlier, unfortunately things are getting worse. The pertinent point before I play the clip is you'll probably remember, well, I say around, it's pretty much exactly a month ago, President Biden, yes, he's still the president. There's all the hoo-ha over Trump. He's not going to be sworn in until January. Made an ultimatum to Benjamin Netanyahu, pretty much that if there weren't 350 trucks of aid getting through into North Gaza every day, then they would be withdrawing military support. And recent reports have seen that at most around 150 trucks per day have been getting through. Not nearly enough. Now, bearing in mind that 350 was the bare minimum, you're talking about hundreds of thousands, over 1 million people. Possibly, it's hard to know. It's definitely in the high hundreds, thousands at least. 2 million Gazans dispersed, displaced, all over the place, and in the north, it's particularly awful because they're kettled in there, they're boxed in there, they've got nowhere to go. They are being systematically wiped out, as we've seen dozens and dozens of people still being killed every day. Well, I'll let the UNWRA rep describe the latest situation. That was just supposed to be the bare minimum, and now, if anything, it's getting worse. So 150 trucks a day is going to be nowhere near enough. As I said, 350 should be the bare minimum. And they haven't done that, so President Biden's got to come through on his word and withdraw military support. And it was a pretty strong ultimatum when it was made. I'm pretty certain in how it was worded. That is to say, politicians will sprinkle words like consider into a statement such as that one, which will essentially just mean nothing will come of it. So come on, Joe, you've got to put your money where your mouth is. Remember, these are American weapons. These are American weapons that are doing everything that's about to be described to you in this report from UNWRA. Let's see what's happening. I'll try not to interrupt too much. It's just a few minutes long.
I can tell you I've been here since April, and every day it gets worse. What we see here is, right now people are begging for pieces of bread. They don't have access to clean water, and winter is around the corner. Many people are sheltering under curtains, under pieces of fabric. They don't have sufficient shelter. They don't have respite from the cold weather as it comes in. It really is hopeless, and we've been communicating about this for 13 months. We're running out of words. We're running out of ways to describe to the world how awful it is on the ground and how much worse it's getting.
And Louise, of course, so many people have been displaced multiple times. How do your colleagues support such people? How do you do that?
Last week I was in Gaza City, and we were speaking to families who were telling us they've been forcibly displaced for 14, 15 times. They have nothing left. They have no belongings. Their homes have been bombed. We're doing everything we can. We're trying to provide people food packages. We have water wells. But I can tell you in Jabalia right now, the area under siege, 8 of our water wells have been bombed and destroyed. People are not receiving water. We are not able to access this area. It is absolutely beyond desperate. It's infuriating for us on the ground. We're trying to provide as much as possible to these people who have had nothing for.
And you heard the attacking water towers and attacking UNWRA itself, in case we've forgotten. UN peacekeepers have been directly targeted and attacked. UNWRA have been attacked. Now, is there any other way to describe denying basic needs such as water and shelter to a collective people. There is no other way to describe it. And everybody, every single person in Gaza has been displaced. There's nobody currently living where they were just over a year ago. Many of them have been moved on several times, as you heard there. But there's nowhere that is 100% safe. Everywhere's at risk, even refugee camps, as we know. We've seen horrific scenes of refugee camps being attacked. And now Israel want UNWRA to be banned, to not be allowed to observe and to report. And the only reason for that can be the absolute horrors that they've got planned for all these people in North Gaza, the ones who are left, who are being attacked daily. It's going to be absolutely obscene. And an echo of other atrocities that we've seen throughout history as well.
13 months, and it's seemingly impossible.
And you touch upon the fact that winter is coming. Just help us to understand how your colleagues, how do they start supplying? How do they start helping those people on the ground, given that conditions arguably will deteriorate as those temperatures drop?
I want to quickly say as well, I saw a clip earlier, I don't have it queued up here unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, but I believe it was a select committee, and it was a clip from a doctor who had attended hospitals in Gaza and the West Bank, and he echoed similar sentiments of things he's observed, but from within the hospital as well. They asked him what his biggest fear was, and he said that it was being killed by the IDF, because he's aware that hospitals aren't safe, schools aren't safe. Israel think the world, think you and I and everybody else is stupid enough to fall for their propaganda that anywhere they attack is a Hamas military centre, a Hezbollah military command post. They think you're that stupid. And I do have to say, as an aside as well, that the puns in the chat are particularly good at the moment. I'll come back to that. I'm just on a bit of a rant here. But thank you for your tea-based puns. I'll get back to those, everybody, very shortly. Do keep them coming. But my point was two things. First of all, when around 65% of the deaths have been women and children, Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, can't say that they're trying to target Hamas. We know that what they say about command posts, military centres, in universities, schools, hospitals is all complete and utter crap. But also the hostage situation. We know that he's deliberately sabotaged negotiations that would have had a hostage exchange baked into the deal. He's deliberately sabotaged them before. He doesn't care about the hostages. He's not trying to eradicate Hamas. He needs a perpetual war. So that he can pursue his lunatic ideology of wiping out an entire people, an entire country, an entire population. Nuts. Absolutely nuts.
We're here, we're distributing tarps, we're trying to distribute tents to people, trying to give them basic shelter, basic covering. But it always comes back to the fact that we need supplies. You know, UNRWA has been running health centers here throughout the war. We've had colleagues who are, you know, risking their own lives. They themselves are displaced. Everybody here is risking their life. There's absolutely nowhere safe here. So we'll continue to do everything we can, but winter is around the corner, as you say. 500,000 people are currently at risk of flooding. They're sleeping on the ground. There is sewage among the tents and the shelters. We're doing everything we can, but we need more. We need more access. We need more aid. And we need a ceasefire. We need a ceasefire now. We need the hostages to go home. That is the only way that this situation is going to change.
Absolutely, 100%. Couldn't agree more. Preach, preach, preach. Please do throw up your Palestine flags and your watermelons in the chat. We need a ceasefire now, and that is the only solution. It's the only way that we can reach any hope for the survival of displaced Palestinians, people under attack in Gaza and the West Bank. And we all have to continue to pressure our politicians to push for a ceasefire as well. Thank you very much for the flags in the chat. Also, very quick, what we got on the... let's have a look at a few tea-based puns that are coming in as well. Sort of a sudden turn of mood. It is an obscenity, and it's going to be frost tea tonight up north. Yeah, so we'll need plenty of hot brews at 10 and after 10. An injustice beyond normality, Octo. Normality. The best thing after a good night on psychedelia. Super on a Tuesday. Super tiny. Have you just got back from a club? No, actually, it's a bit early to be coming back from a club. Will Trump be a calamity? Oh, I'd just say, you know, you don't really need to hedge your bets on that one. Of course he will be. Especially on issues in the Middle East. Okay, gonna move on. Sort of sticking on topic, but well, you might be surprised to hear what I'm about to move on to. Gary Lineker. Okay, Gary Lineker was announced that he's going to be stepping down as the host of Match of the Day. But that's not what I'm going to talk about on the Brews at 10. It's just that that's been in the headlines today. But he has been outspoken on certain geopolitical issues as well as social issues here in the UK as well. And he's faced criticism from gammons and neolibs and the like. But who cares about them? So I've got a clip of what he thinks about what's happening in Palestine at the moment. And it's pretty well said. He's come out and said previously that he believes Israeli teams, international and domestic, including Maccabi Tel Aviv, who got walloped by Ajax 5-0 in Amsterdam last week. Well done. But they should be banned. All the Israeli teams should be banned. He's come out and said that, amongst other things. So this is from former England striker Gary Lineker. El Nino. That's what they used to call him.
the minute you raise your voice against what they're now doing there, you get accused of being a supporter of Hamas or all this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of heavy lobbying on people to be quiet. So I understand why most people refrain, but I'm getting on a bit now. I'm fairly secure, and I can't be silent about what's happening there. I think it's so utterly awful. And now they're talking about, it already looks like it's happening, going into Rafah, where they've sent everybody down there. So, I don't think you can be, it's not anti-Semitic to say that what Israel is doing is wrong.
Absolutely not, Gary. It's not. There's nothing in that. It was all it's all a scam. It's all part of the propaganda as well. That was an interview he did with Mehdi Hassan a while back, and Rafah, of course, is another area of Gaza where there's a huge amount of suffrage and a humanitarian crisis ongoing as well. And it's very rare that footballers, even former footballers who are quite well off, as Gary admits there, what's he got to lose at this stage, but they're so apprehensive about putting out their opinions, if they have them, about anything political. Where things like this are concerned, obviously there are campaigns within football against racism in general. Kick racism out of football. A lot of you might be aware that currently at the start of Premier League matches, all of the players take the knee. Zionism is undoubtedly a form of racism, so if that sentiment is going to be followed up on, then Zionism needs kicking out of football, and so do Israel's national team, as well as domestic teams like Maccabi Tel Aviv, especially when their fans act the way that they did in Amsterdam last week. Now, this country is no stranger, historically, to football violence, even racially motivated hooliganism in that regard. But it is not something that we want to see in football. It's not something that we want to see teams like Maccabi Tel Aviv sending the fans over here to carry out. Octo, thanks a lot for the gifted membership. Also throwing out some awesome puns tonight as well. Thanks a lot for those. Solidari-Tea, my friend. Doc Davies with the gifted membership there. The random factor has landed on someone who's in the chat. That's it's great when that happens, because I get to find out in real time. So enjoy your perks there, Doc. I'll pop you on the list along with My Dog's a Goth. So yes, where was I? Well said, Mr. Lineker there. I know that other former footballers have tried to do politics, but sort of fallen over themselves when it's been pointed out to them that they're criticising the kind of people that they are themselves. I won't name any names. Anyway, it wouldn't be unknown for the chat to sometimes descend into domestic football as well. When we got the crew from the northeast in. Okay, just one moment, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Got another clip lined up. I just need a moment or two, if you'll bear with me. And while I'm doing that, please do make sure that you've hit the thumbs up button, of course. on the stream. And feel free to take the time to share the stream across your social media. I'll just be one moment. Thank you for your patience there, people. Much appreciated. What's this in the chat, Super Tiny? Breaking news. Hurricane. Oh, I'm assuming that's in jest. Hurricane's just been sacked by Starlink. There was, of course, the thing during the last. It was the last World Cup. Was it the European? No, it was the World Cup. Over the rainbow armbands being a political statement, and I believe he was told that if he wore it again, then he'd receive a yellow card before the game, and he caved in, and the next time that they played he removed the rainbow armband, and there's a bit of backlash from that from the LGBTQ plus community. Politics Clive, great to see you as well. We are of course having PMQ's live stream tomorrow, fixing the foundations. Possibly, it was a pretty close run contest last week. Just to explain for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about here, we play a bit of a game while we reviewing and commentating on PMQs on Wednesdays, and one of the things we do is keep count of how many times certain phrases come up, and it's a running contest between them. The current contenders are Black Hole and Deliver respectively, but it's been suggested lately that perhaps fixing the foundations would be a good contender as well. But that's a good suggestion. Andy Carter, welcome to the chat as well. Let's see anyone else has dived in recently. It's great to see you all back again. How's your week going? Yeah, and if you're joining us late, feel free to review or watch from the start on 1 1/4 speed, whatever, not too high. I don't want to sound like a chipmunk. No, it's fine, however you want to listen to it. Thanks for being here. So where was I? I've got another clip. Again, finally, just on Palestine. This is a demonstration in Texas. Recently, one I came across earlier today, so I hope you enjoy this. Particularly stands out because it features a few people on horseback, which is not something that you particularly see at protests outside of members of the police force. I make it sound like a horse race. Is that the PMQ's game, Dog Davies? I don't know, maybe more like a football match, or, well, sometimes it turns into a rugby score, like it did the other week. But yeah, we could start a league. We could start a league with all the different phrases, and I don't know how that'd work out. They'd have to have home games, away games. I'd have to work on the format for that. Depends how many phrases it'd be in the league. Yeah, possibly. But as I was saying, check out this clip. This comes from Texas. Solidari-Tea. Texas tea. Oh, speaking of oil, I've got to go on to mention COP as well very quickly after this. So it all ties in: Texas tea, Solidari-Tea, oil. See what I did there? Brews at 10. You heard it here first. Just a brief clip there, but that's what's going down in Texas. Solidari-Tea, with everybody showing support there, calling for a ceasefire. Solidari-Tea, Andy. Solidari-Tea. Oh, what have I done? What have I started? Well, if the tea movement works, we'll see what develops. Oh, I need to get this lined up. Right. Concentrate. Did I have a bookmark? Let's have a look. No, I'm going to find the article. 1 sec. I did say we'd have a bit of an update on COP29. Starmer's made his apparently huge commitment, this pledge, this promise. He's definitely not got his fingers crossed behind his back to reduce carbon emissions by 81% by 2035. And what do I think about this? I'll be throwing in my 2 cents. Speaking as an environmentalist and protester and activist also. Just going to dig out the bit from the Beeb. And of course Trump has carried on denouncing climate change as a hoax. He's going to be boycotting COPs and things like this. How does that work in then with Starmer's arse-kissing statement about working together and about the special relationship that we have with the United States of America, like we talked about earlier, going back on tweets from some years ago? How does that marry up with apparently trying to set this example at COP29 as it is now? That's the 29th COP, by the way, not 2029. he said there will be a no ambitious climate target for the United Kingdom. But there might be a little bit more to it than meets the eye. There he is with the Barbadian Prime Minister, Mia Mottley. Okay, so where to begin? Well, first of all, I think he's full of shit, if you'll forgive me for saying so, which I'm sure you will. It wouldn't be a surprise for anyone if Starmer reneged on this pledge, this promise. Just look at recent examples, student fees, all the rest of it. How many times do we have to, mention this list, this ever-growing list of pledges that he's turned his back on, he's gone the opposite way on. And these are long-term climate commitments, which gives him a lot of room to stall for time also. And obviously these targets by 2035 coming after he'll have served a full term in Parliament. So I don't believe him like I wouldn't, believe any of his pledges. But also, I don't think it's enough. I think it is slightly credible. The 81% factor is definitely credible, but the timescale of 2035, I think, is far too far down the road. Any massive climate commitments that we make, we have to set targets around the 2030 area or earlier. So if it was 2030, because I won't get carried away with tipping points, with average global temperature rises, sea temperature rises, the breaking away of ice sheets and so on and so forth. But we're already behind. We're already behind here in the UK because we've had people, the litany of Tories that we've had as Prime Minister haven't done nearly enough in terms of meeting our international commitments on climate change that we've made at the Paris Summit, amongst others. So as well as being far behind on previous commitments, it really wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't be knocked back in my seat if Starmer failed to come through on these. Just look at what he's doing where renewable energy is concerned with this GB Energy. That's what it's called, isn't it? Yeah, it is. This GB Energy thing that he's putting out. When you look very closely at it at a granular detail, you'll notice it's just shell companies for the fossil fuel industry itself. And I mentioned on the last live stream about how much lobbying goes on at these conferences, at these COPs. They're always looking at ways to take money in one hand while they try and sweep the problem under the carpet with the other. But this is the future of humanity we're talking about. This is why capitalism is so insane. It's the belief that we can have eternal, continuous, so-called growth, economic growth and prosperity based on so much reliability on finite resources. Because obviously the nodding donkeys, as you can see on the screen there, are draining the oil out of the ground a lot quicker than it develops naturally. It's not, obviously with climate, it's not a matter of resources, it's the matter of the damage that does to the planet. It's like we're addicted to it. We've got the so-called economy addicted to it. The entire global economy is based on something that is destroying the planet, it's destroying us. And at the end of the day, however clever economists and politicians think that they are, and lobbyists think that they are, it really is a falsehood. It's a, there's only one way it's going to go. It's going to run out eventually. We're already past peak oil, for example. I mean, I could go on, but that's the bare bones of it. Floor Snake, hope you're doing well. You stayed a bit longer at the pub. Okay, feel free to catch up, but it's great to see you nonetheless. Hope you had a good time. Hope you're doing well. Tonight we were just talking about Keith's recent apparent climate commitment. This big 81% by 2035 reduction. That is in the amount of CO2 produced. But I also have to add this footnote, as it were, or reservation. I've mentioned before about how net zero carbon and zero carbon are two completely different things. The word net is very important there. I'll summarise it very briefly because there are others who can put it a lot better than I could. I've mentioned before you should check out Professor Kevin Anderson's work on the topic. It's fantastic. He's a former government advisor and former UN advisor himself, but now he's free from those shackles. He can talk more openly about these kind of things. So net zero essentially allows countries to pretend that they're not producing as much CO2 as they are by kicking the can down the road and putting the blame in the lap of the countries who buy energy from them. Even though we in the UK might dig up natural oil and gas from new projects like Rosebank that you might have heard of off the North Sea, and then we sell it on to another country, country B, we can claim that it's country B is responsible for the emissions, so we still have our carbon credits as it's going to be like a currency, like a sort of money laundering, but with these carbon credits. And that's just one example of it. But Kevin Anderson also highlights just how quickly we do have to act if we're going to avoid the very worst elements of climate crisis that we're heading for at the moment. And he sums up a lot of points with something that I think stands out really well in its simplicity, but just also how worryingly true it is that he says that there is a revolution coming, but it's whether it's a velvet one or a violent one. If it's a velvet one, we get countries of the world to act immediately and stop us on this runaway series of tipping points that we're heading for at the moment. Or it could be a violent revolution, and we're talking about societal collapse as food becomes scarcer, as habitable parts of the earth become scarcer, refugee crises on top of food crises, on top of pollution, could lead to, unfortunately, a very violent collapse of society within a very short amount of time. And I've heard other academics such as Professor Bill Bryson, Professor Emeritus at University College London, say that this could happen as early as 2040. Yes, I said 2040, in the next 15 years. Again, based on current trajectories, the path that we're heading on at the moment. So we'll have to keep our eye on those commitments from Keith. A fisherman lost his boat. He was fishing net zero. Octo. His name was Rod. He's on a roll. He's on a roll. You can get him by the fishing line. Oh. Floor State, you're going to stick with live and then roll back to the start later. Thank you very much. It's great to be with you in real time. Right, let's just quickly dig out a couple of other points from COP29. This is quite an interesting one. The Taliban's government delegation is attending COP since they swept to power in Afghanistan 3 years ago. They're not recognised internationally, the article points out, but they were urging the United Nations to allow them to participate in the climate conference. It was told by the Taliban's Environmental Protection Agency that over 30 climate-related projects have been suspended since their return to power in Afghanistan 3 years ago. These projects worth millions of euros. See, if even the Taliban are going to these things, but Donald Trump will turn his nose up at them. Russia aren't there either, of course, for obvious reasons. According to the UN, Afghanistan is one of the top 10 countries in the world most vulnerable to climate disasters, but it contributes the least to climate change. It's politically significant for the Taliban government to be allowed to join the UN Global Conference while hoping to seek international attention, as it hopes suspended climate projects will soon be resumed. Yeah, a bit of a strange one. Apparently the US and China are collaborating to stop so-called super pollutants. Are they? Because I'm pretty sure I heard Trump say drill baby drill, called climate change a hoax, made some obscure reference to some dead whales on a beach, and then said, well, it's a bit cold today, so it must be a hoax. Quoted as saying that towards the end of the hottest year on record. Of course. And he's not even been sworn in yet. He's not even been sworn in yet. So what is this supposed to be about? Looks like it's about methane. Of course, very quickly about methane. The effects of methane in terms of global warming are actually several times, tens of times worse than CO2, in fact. And you have all these methane plants, and they're so unregulated. They are so unregulated that they're leaky as hell. I've seen reports and investigations as to how much methane is actually going out into the atmosphere. It can be up to 35 times worse in terms of creating greenhouse gases than CO2. So that's what this is about, with China and the US working together. It's produced from farming, rotting waste and fossil fuel production. It also reeks, absolutely reeks. There will be a fine in the United States, it says, for companies that release the gas, but global satellite data will be used to track methane releases. Environmental human rights groups have long campaigned that some fossil fuel companies are able to hide their methane emissions, as it's difficult to measure. Burkina Faso asking for a cash boost to help them. Representative of the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts from Uganda come to fight for women to be prioritised in climate action. Climate disasters are happening at home. She adds that sometimes there's no access to food, there's a lot of hunger, and girls are dropping out of school. 80% of the people displaced by climate disasters are women and children, she points out. Right, I'll just finish off with Keith then. So he said he wants the UK to be on the front line in addressing climate change. He cited measures already taken include closing the UK's final coal power plant. We'd be the first G7 economy to do so, and launching Great British Energy, the shell company for fossil fuel companies, of course. Not a great start. Then again, just repeating that target, he's emphasised a focus on finance, stressing that the Labour government will honour the Tory party pledge to provide 11.6 billion of climate finance between April 2021 and March 2026. That's not a great amount over about 5 years. You know, about 2 billion a year in climate finance. So I wouldn't call that a first focus, as he said there. Yeah, that works out about £2 billion per year. He's already committed to give £3 billion per year towards the war in Ukraine for as long as it takes, as long as that conflict goes on. So it appears that his ambition, his will to finance war certainly exceeds that to help to repair the climate crisis and help to fund victims of the climate crisis. And Rebecca Newsom, who's a senior political advisor at Greenpeace, has said that Starmer's plan is relatively ambitious compared with other countries, despite still falling short of the UK's fair share. I'd say that's a pretty reasonable comment. It's kind of close to what I was thinking as well. It's relatively ambitious, but it's still not enough. It's still not enough. And as Zara Hididu, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, senior climate resilience specialist, has said, we need to also immediately drop fossil fuel subsidies ditch the gimmicks and urgently invest in renewable energy. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And on that note, that's where I'll leave that topic. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, they're thems, everybody. I'm going to be calling it a night shortly. Please do hang around though. I'll see if we've got anybody to redirect into to raid. Also, giving another thanks to members you can see on the screen. Welcome to the new members who we picked up on tonight's live stream as well. Thank you to those of you who've gifted memberships this evening. Solidari-Tea. And for anybody watching back on a replay, you might want to consider joining that list of people. It's just 99 pence. Okay, awesome. It looks like Helena at No Justice is live. I'm going to redirect you there. Please do say hello from me. I won't have time to be able to join you in the chats on Helena's stream this evening, but I will be catching up on the stream tomorrow. But please do give her my best wishes and solidarity to Helena at No Justice. And thanks again, Octo, for another gifted membership. He's on fire tonight with puns, gifted memberships. No, seriously, really do appreciate that as always, Octo. Right, I'm all set up to redirect to No Justice. I'll be back tomorrow, as I said earlier, with PMQs. Please do join me there. We'll see who's going to prevail as the winner in the phrase game, as well as adding commentary and opinion to the latest round in the House of Commons. All right, that's all from me for tonight, everybody. Until we see each other again, take care. Hope you'll join me tomorrow. But until then, my Left, I'll be seeing you soon.